Hi, this is Donald here, and this is my review of Beyond Order by Jordan Peterson. Beyond Order is part 2 of his rules series where he lists off some personal rules on how he thinks people should live their life. And I think in the beginning he had a list of 48 rules several years ago, and then he wrote the first book taking the 12 most important rules he thought. And this book is just a continuation where he takes the next 12 most important rules that he thought of. The book is a little shy of 400 pages long, and the cover is pretty nice. The paper's a little cheaper than I thought it was going to be. Nothing very nice. And for some reason he changed the spacing of the words so there's less words on each page than the original book. So it kind of makes this book feel longer than it actually is. Most of the rules he talks about, I think, were pretty self-evident, but not in a bad way, in a way that's kind of timeless. For example, keeping a beautiful room in your house. I think that's a very good, genuine advice that has similarities in many cultures. Nothing bad about that. I did think that Jordan Peterson wrote a lot of this book while he was very sick and had a lot of health problems, and then his family was having a lot of health problems as well, so he definitely had a lot of stress, and he mentions that at the start of the book. I did think that some parts of the book were very meandering, especially the first few chapters. Surprisingly so. He would talk for 10 pages straight about random things, and then I wouldn't know what to think of it. And sometimes he said a lot of things, but it didn't really mean much. Or at least on my initial reading, it didn't mean much. If I read it again, there's probably more meaning behind it. But it was just kind of a meandering, unclear, a little frantic, personal, internal dialogue kind of musing. For example, in one chapter, he started tying in multiple stories at the same time, as well as doing a deep analysis of Harry Potter, and it was confusing and frantic and just weird. It was I just didn't buy it, and I read Harry Potter as a kid, and I did enjoy the books and the movies, but it's definitely not the best written book, and when you're starting to pull points and archetypes and this and that from the book, it's just, the arguments just seemed weaker, right? Rather than pulling from a biblical story from 2,000 years ago, or like the story of a Buddha or something, right? Where those stories have survived for thousands of years. Whenever he referred to these classic stories, that I thought was the most resonating with me personally. About halfway into this book, I wasn't sure if I was actually enjoying this book. I didn't enjoy this book. But by the end of the book, I felt like I had gone on a journey with Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson in this book is very passionate about his beliefs. And I did agree with all of his rules, and I enjoyed his insights. I don't think there's much to nitpick. Maybe you could slice the bologna a little bit thinner. But for the most part, I thought the rules were very genuine, useful, and immediately helpful. I definitely expect to return to this book in a couple of years. Part of me was actually sad towards the end of the book, because I feel like the end of this book, it becomes much more clear and focused, and none of this frantic meandering, and it became a lot easier to follow. That being said, the start of the book was pretty rough, and I didn't really enjoy it. Would I recommend this book? I definitely recommend the rules, like reading the rules up. But this book might be a love or hate book. Jordan Peterson has a certain style of writing where sometimes it just feels like he's frantically thinking and stuck in his own thought loop. And that can be pretty frustrating to read through. At the same time, if you can get past that and appreciate what he's saying, I think you would enjoy this book quite a bit. So, with that one caveat, I would recommend this book to most people. If you're okay with that meandering style, and sometimes a little frantic style, I think you would really enjoy this book. And that is my review of Beyond Order by Jordan Peterson. Please let me know what you thought in the comments below. Thanks.